Welcome to webinar number 7, and in this webinar we're going to work on task 2. And I found this question on a website, and it's considered one of the more difficult questions. Let's take a look at it. Art is considered an essential part of all cultures throughout the world. However, these days fewer and fewer people appreciate art and turn their focus to science, technology, and business. Why do you think that is? What could be done to encourage more people to take interest in the arts? So as you can see here, this is a two-part question, right? The first part is asking for the reasons for a problem, and the problem is that art is marginalized. And the second part is asking for solutions. So it's a problem solution question, which is part of two-part questions. Some people include it in two-part questions. Some people call it a separate category called problem solutions. So it doesn't matter because the planning is basically the same. So let's take a few minutes and I want to take your feedback about how you would answer the question, how would you plan it. I have written the essay, so I will paste the paragraphs one by one for you, and that way we'll have more time to discuss. Alright, let me know what you think.
I would go like the same introduction, and the first paragraph I will reasoning out why it is marginalizing, and the second body paragraph I will do the solutions, like how we can make it popular again, and then go for a conclusion.
Okay, that's good. So let's write that down. So we start with an intro as always. Then we go to body paragraph 1, causes, and then body paragraph 2, solutions, and then finally a conclusion. Okay. You could do a variation of this. For example, you can have 2 body paragraphs for causes or 2 body paragraphs for solutions, but this is the standard structure for a problem solution essay, and it works. It seems to be the most logical structure, and that's how I have planned my essay too. Does anybody else have any other opinions?
So I have came across a question that they're thinking like the pollution is the main topic, and they're asking causes, and then they're asking the environmental problems, then they're asking the solution. So that's what I was thinking.
Okay, yeah, that would be a different that would be a 2-part question. Yeah. Okay. In that case, yes, you will have to have a paragraph about talking about environmental problems. But the problem is pollution. Environmental problems is the result of pollution, right? But here the problem is that art is not appreciated, right? And their focus has been turned to science and technology. So that is the problem. Problem is already defined. So in the background statement, we just repeat that idea. Okay? Alright. So let me just give you the introduction here. So, introduction. I'm going to increase the font size for you. There we go. Okay. The artistic creations of a society are the most outstanding hallmarks of a culture, yet, given the advancement in science and technology, art has been pushed to the margins. This, I believe, is a dangerous trend caused in part by a profit-seeking mindset, and serious measures need to be taken to reverse it. Good. So let's analyze this a little bit. First of all, my background statement is here, so I'm just gonna highlight it in green. There we go. So that's my background statement, and this is my thesis statement, so I'll highlight that in blue. Okay, so background statement repeats the same thing. The artistic creation of a society are the most outstanding hallmark of a culture, here an essential part of all cultures. Good. Instead of that, I paraphrased it. And then these days, fewer and fewer people, instead of however here, I said yet. Given the advancement in science and technology, introductory element, fewer and fewer people appreciate art and turn their focus to science and technology and business. So art has been pushed to the margins. So instead of saying people turn their focus to this, I have said art has been pushed to the margins. And then my thesis statement, usually in these types of questions, the thesis statement talks about what you are going to say generally in terms of the causes and solutions. So you have to address both of those in your thesis statement. This, I believe, is a dangerous trend. First of all, I have a position. The question didn't ask for this position. But it's nice to have that position because it gives you a little bit more coherence. What do you think about it? And once you talk about the causes and solutions, naturally you have to have a position towards it to say whether you agree with this trend or disagree with this trend, or do you think it's a positive trend or a negative trend. And again, the question doesn't ask you that, but naturally and inadvertently you have to provide it. Caused in part by a profit-seeking mindset. So this is the answer to the first question. Why do you think that is? And then the answer to the second question, what could be done? Here, I don't have to exactly explain what can be done, okay? But I can just touch upon it. You can say serious measures need to be taken to reverse it. Okay, and that is in line with why do I want to reverse it? Because I think it's dangerous. Okay? Any questions about that first one?
The phrase that's starting with yet, it is a prepositional phrase, right? Used as an introductory element.
This is basically a compound sentence. Okay, so the first independent clause is up to the comma, and then the second independent clause is here. Art has been pushed to the margins, and this is an introductory element. Now, given the advancement in science and technology, that's a phrase. It's an introductory element, yeah. It's not a prepositional phrase because there's no preposition, yeah. It's a participle phrase because it starts with the past participle.
Okay. I thought participle phrase was starting with being.
That's a present participle. This is a past participle. Both of those are participle phrases, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so here I should probably explain this. So a conjunctive adverb connects two independent clauses. So you have an independent clause, then you have a conjunctive adverb, like however, then you have a comma, and then you have another independent clause. Yet is a coordinating conjunction. And a coordinating conjunction does not connect, well, actually it does connect two independent clauses, but the punctuation is a little bit different. So coordinating conjunction is basically what we all know and refer to as fanboys. So what happens is that you have the first independent clause, then you have a comma, then you have your coordinating conjunction, then you have your second independent clause. And both of these are compound sentences. Okay. Any other questions about the introduction? All right. So let's see paragraph 1. Paragraph 1 talks about the causes, right? Okay. The most important factor that has contributed to this mass shunning of art, remember what the question was? The question was why. So it's important. I am answering this why. Okay? So why is the reason. And so because of that I say the most important factor, which is the reason. The most important factor that has contributed to this mass shunning of art, and here shun is a nice word, uncommon word that I'm using, is a profit-seeking mindset. And profit-seeking mindset here is what I have already talked about in the thesis. That runs as an undercurrent of many scientific, technological, or business ventures. Venture, again, uncommon word. Also, undercurrent is an uncommon word. And also, the reason that I used undercurrent is because undercurrent usually collocates with run. So run as an undercurrent, something runs as an undercurrent is a common phrase. And by common I mean they collocate, they come together. And what does it mean? It means it is an underlying reason, an underlying factor. It is associated with that. So here I'm saying that the underlying factor in doing any kind of scientific, technological, business venture, not any, but many. Be careful, don't generalize, because if you generalize you lose marks. So I said many, not every. All of these pay attention to, okay, how is this going to make money? Okay, and this is a noun, no, this is an adjective clause from here, right? And then all of this is my topic sentence, of course. So let me mark that accordingly. This is my topic sentence. Now I'm going to provide support for that topic sentence. Too many people in these fields are attracted to undertakings that they deem practical. So one thing here that is happening is that I am putting practical in quotation marks. The reason that I'm putting practical in quotation marks is because they call it practical, but I don't agree with that definition or by that name, that term used for anything that is scientific or technological as practical, because the implication is that anything that is not making money is impractical, right? And so that distinction between practical and impractical causes many people to focus their attention more on business and technology and science, and then say, well, art is not practical, really. That's, you have your head in the clouds if you're following arts. So then they don't follow it, and then it is marginalized in society. Now, I try to explain what practical means in the minds of these people, these many people. So I say that is, which is something that after a comma you use it to define something. Practical, that is, capable of returning financial profit. Here again, I use returning profit, which is a collocation. If something returns profit, it means it makes money. So return profit, that's another collocation that I'm using. Financial, again, that's a good word, just because I don't want to talk about profit seeking or making money. I want to use something more academic. As a result of this mindset, and here I'm trying to create cohesion, because I talked about, not cohesion, coherence, because I talked about mindset here. So I'm trying to connect these two ideas, okay, and here too. So these three ideas I'm trying to connect, okay. Too many people in these fields are attracted to undertakings that they deem practical, that is, capable of returning financial profit. As a result of this mindset, being an actor, painter, or writer is not deemed likely to success. So here, let's change that to likely to bring about. Likely to bring about. As a result of this mindset, being an actor, painter, or writer is not deemed likely to bring about success, which, under these circumstances, is defined in terms of the size of one's wallet, rather than their feeling of emotional or creative fulfillment. So this is a very complex sentence, from too many actually, two complex sentences. First of all, we have a main clause here, then we have that they deem practical, and everything after that, that's an adjective clause. As a result of this mindset, introductory element, being an actor, blah blah blah, is not deemed likely to bring about success. That's the independent clause, the main clause. Another adjective clause, but this adjective clause has an introductory element, so that's separated with two commas, is defined in terms of the size of one's wallet rather than their feeling of, and here this is a parallelism, their feeling of emotional or creative fulfillment. So those are two nice complex sentences, slightly different structures, just to show grammatical range, right? And here again, in the topic sentence, I have another complex sentence. That's the subordinate clause. And again, that's an adjective clause. Any questions about this one?
Yes, Cara.
Yeah.
After practical, we have here a comma and that. Instead of that, can we use which?
Okay. This is not a relative pronoun. Okay? This is not a relative pronoun. This is not a relative clause.
Okay.
Yeah. So, no, you can't use which.
So what is it exactly, Cara, here?
How do you define hypertension?
Is an increase of the blood pressure?
Yeah. Okay, so you say, for example, I don't know, a sedentary lifestyle can lead to hypertension. I don't know if that's true, but let's imagine that it's true.
Yeah.
Now I want to define hypertension. I have two ways. That is, or I can say, which is high blood pressure. Okay? Or I can say the same thing in the same main clause. That is high blood pressure. Now, here I have created a subordinate clause. Okay? But here, if I want to define hypertension, after this that is, I have to have another complete sentence. Because this that is kind of a, in other words. The meaning of this is like in other words. Okay? In other words, sitting too much can cause high blood pressure. So you see, when you use that is, you try to explain the same thing. Instead of sedentary lifestyle, you say sitting too much. And then instead of hypertension, you say high blood pressure. So that's how that is works. These two are together, which is completely different. That's
Okay.
relative
The other
pronoun.
question, Kara, when we have a definition, we have a comma after or we have a colon?
When you have a definition, if you have an independent clause, okay. When you have an independent clause, then you can have a colon and a definition, or your definition can be in a positive. In that case, you can have a noun and then a positive, which is your definition, and then comma, and then you continue whatever you were doing, whether it was a clause or a phrase or whatever. So there are many ways to do this. These are just two.
I'm sorry, Kara, but what's a positive, if you don't mind?
A positive is a group of words that explain a noun that comes before them. For example, an example that I usually use for a positive is my sister Monica is a psychologist. Okay, so here Monica is an appositive for sister. Now, a positive can be restrictive or non-restrictive. So depending on how many sisters I have, this could be restrictive or non-restrictive. If I only have one sister, then that will become non-restrictive. So it will need two commas. But if I have more than one sister, then this will be restrictive and it will not require commas. But generally, a noun or a group of words that function as a noun that describe another noun that comes before them. And usually in a positive, usually is a phrase or just one word.
Thank you, Kara. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's move to body paragraph 2. Here I'm providing the solution. All right. There are several measures, so solutions. Again, I'm looking at the question. Every time you come up with a new paragraph or you're starting a new paragraph, you should look at the question. Am I answering the question or am I going off topic? So here, what could be done means what is the solution? Solution for what? To encourage more people to take interest in the arts. Okay, so that's the purpose, to encourage more people, and we're looking for a solution to achieve that. So what we do is we say there are several measures to answer the question of what could be done that can be taken, because take and measure, they collocate, to reverse, stop, or at least mitigate this social malady. And malady is taken from French. It means a problem. And social malady, in French, it means illness. It means disease.
Yeah, disease.
But in English, it doesn't mean disease. In English, it means a social problem. Okay? We can also say social ills or social ill. That is also correct in English, and it collocates. Or we can say social malady or social maladies. That also works. Pay attention that in French, it's D-I-E. In English, it becomes Y. Okay? Okay, so that's my topic sentence here. So I'm going to highlight it accordingly. Firstly, in order to have some cohesion here. Firstly, school curricula should take art education more seriously and have procedures in place to identify young prodigies. Prodigies means highly talented young children. A highly talented child is called a prodigy, with Y at the end. When it becomes plural, it becomes IES at the end. From an early age. Okay, so here I'm a little bit repetitive because a prodigy is a young talented person, so I don't really have to say young prodigies. I can just say I identify prodigies. And for children who exhibit great talent in music composition or painting, so this is I'm trying to give examples. I'm not remaining general talking about art or artistic activities. I'm trying to give some examples like music composition, painting. Special programs or schools should be developed where they are trained and prepared for a successful artistic career. Now that I'm reading it, I'm noticing that this is actually non-restrictive, so it needs a comma. Okay? Pay attention that special here means specific to them, so it doesn't have E at the beginning. That's the specially, the adverb that has E. Especially without E has a different meaning, with E has a different meaning. Make sure that you Google that and you understand the difference. Now that's one solution, okay? Another solution can be brought about by the government. They can allocate specific budget to promote the role of art and explain its significance to the general public. This can be accomplished through funding operas, vocational schools, or incentivizing the media to cover those events and artists. Good? So here, vocational school basically is a kind of school that teaches you how to do something. Generally, vocational schools, when people think of them, they think about like welding or being a mechanic or things like that. So maybe I'll change this and I'll say art schools. Alright, so this is my second paragraph. I have two ideas to support this main topic sentence. Okay, so let's hear your questions.
And if you don't mind, Kara, about mass shunning of art, what's the meaning of mass shunning?
So shun, here in paragraph 2, you're talking about that.
Yes.
Shun here means to turn your back against something. Or turn your back to something. So it means to avoid. To avoid. Exactly. It means to avoid. And mass shunning, it means everybody, the majority of the people, or a large number of the people. I believe in French you have en masse.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I don't know what it means in French, but I'm thinking that it probably means the same thing. En masse means like a group of people, large group of people doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing. And actually in English we say en masse. It's an English word too. So you can use it. Okay, so let me just delete these. And so here you can say in short, or you can say in conclusion, to raise awareness about the importance of art and to broaden the definition of success beyond financial gain among the general public. So broaden the definition of success beyond financial gain. So it means to extend the definition of success and say success does not mean only becoming rich or making money. Success can mean other things. Success can be more than that. So beyond means more than that. Okay, so that's all of that together. That's what it means. To broaden something beyond something else. To broaden something beyond something else. Among the general public, the government and the educational system should work hand in hand. Why do I say the government and the educational system? Because in the first paragraph I talked about, here in the second body paragraph I talked about the educational system, and then I talked about the government. And in the first body paragraph I talked about how the definition of success needs to change, right? So I touch upon all of those points. Broaden definition of success, government, educational system should work hand in hand and bring art back into the forefront of our culture. And forefront, it means into a place of importance and respect. So I noticed that today I just went, maybe I wrote it a little bit at a higher level. I don't know why that happened. So it's a little bit more difficult. I usually don't write at this level for my IELTS classes, but I just thought, let me just write at a higher level and see, did you feel that it was too difficult or was it okay?
Yeah, it's obviously difficult, but I think it's good because then we can get at the vocabulary and the sentence structure. We can practice, and maybe at least few of them we can reproduce in exam.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
I want to know about the word non-profit, about profit. Sometimes you use the word non-profit media, and for media, can we use the word profit-seeking media or not?
No, the opposite of non-profit is for-profit.
For-profit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so those are legal terms. Non-profit means that it's a kind of company, like Braden is non-profit. It's a kind of company that you get some money from the government. You don't really sell anything. You just get a grant or some funding from the government, usually, or from somebody who donates money to you. And then you spend that money on a social cause, okay? And if you own a nonprofit, you are not supposed to take, if there's any extra money left, you are not supposed to keep the extra money to yourself. That extra money has to remain in the business. For-profit means that after you pay your employees and you pay your expenses for your business, whatever is left you can just take as your salary. So Amazon is a for-profit. Microsoft is a for-profit. Okay, a restaurant is a for-profit. But Catholic Social Services is a non-profit. Braden is a non-profit. Edmonton Mennonite Center is a non-profit. These are businesses that are not really businesses. They are more like service providers. The government cannot provide all of those services, so it gives money to institutions outside of itself and says, you provide these services and I will just come and control you. So the government comes to Braden every few months or every few weeks and says, give me a report. How many people took your IELTS classes? How many of them passed? How many of them are still taking classes. Things like that. So you provide a report like that to the government says, okay, here's some money to continue these classes. So, and then if, for example, let's say the government pays Braden $100,000 and Braden pays me, let's say, $50,000 a year, and let's say $20,000 for other costs, and then $30,000 remain. Those $30,000 the CEO of Braden cannot take away from the business. They'll have to keep it there and spend it on something else.
I'm sorry, Kara. I'm talking about media. So non-profit media, if it's sponsored by the government, can the government influence this sector or not?
So usually when the government sponsors media, usually that media is independent because some kind of a structure is put in place that the government is not allowed to interfere, to have editorial control over the media. Like CBC is sponsored by the government, but CBC doesn't respond to the media. In the United States, probably the most famous are NPR, National Public Radio, and PBS, Public Broadcasting Service, I think. NPR and PBS. Most young Americans watch NPR and PBS. The other channels like CNN and MSNBC and CBS and ABC, and those are for-profit. So the for-profit ones, they have to make money somehow. The government doesn't give them money. So then you have to be careful about those, because the corporations will pay, and so they will not say anything bad about the corporations. But those who are more independent are the ones that are actually funded by the government.
Thank you, Kara, because I found a question in the IELTS exam about the independency of media, so I didn't know exactly what's the difference between non-profit and for-profit.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
All right. Any other questions? All right. So I am slowly editing the videos and putting them on YouTube. I added one recently, so take a look. And the essays, I haven't put them up because I'm moving to a new website, and it's going to be, the design is going to be a little bit different, but it's taking a little longer than I expected. So once I move there, then I will post all of the essays together. It will take probably 2-3 more weeks. But about this essay, I think the vocabulary, I try to keep it at a high level. Also the grammar and everything else, I try to include a lot of complex sentences. And so I think it will get a good score. Take a look at it and let me know if you have any questions. Email me.
Thank you, Kara.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Kara. Good night.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
good night.